T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here's your career affirmation. You're going to rock that interview and get that job. Hey everyone, happy Thursday. I'm Anna Morgan, your career BFF. It is Thursday, Ask Me Anything. And today I made a last minute decision to make a post that I would be happy to have someone join me live on stage here on LinkedIn or StreamYard or in this fancy digital space to catch up. I can answer questions. We can do a semi mock interview. We can talk about industry trends, what's happening in the market. We can talk about mindset. I mean, you've got a career BFF in your corner. So if you are here, say hello. I know Dan is here. Not sure. It might just be me and Dan, which is totally fine. I am okay with that. But this is, I think, week 16. So very proud of myself for consistently showing up week after week, even when some weeks are tougher than others, just like job seekers, showing up to be active on LinkedIn, to network, to interview, to work on their resume, to update their LinkedIn profiles. It definitely takes work. I see you hustling. It's very similar to entrepreneurship where you're just trudging the road to your happy destiny. And a lot of times you're just in this figure it out energy. I think that's Marie Forleo. Everything is figure outable. Jess Lara is in the house. Good afternoon. Dan, again, sorry for keeping you waiting. So since, there's three of you here, is it Dan or Jess that's going to join me on stage today? Or we could play a game. I was on Judy Fox's show the other day, which is, we played Would You Rather? And of course, Judy Fox had some amazing questions to ask me. One of her questions was if I had to hold a yoga pose for my entire life or sit at a desk in the midst of a yoga room where people were practicing yoga, what would I choose? And if I chose a yoga pose, which pose would I choose? And I don't think Dan can answer this question, and I'm not really sure if Jess does yoga, but I'm curious if you could guess which position I chose. It's definitely not mountain or a warrior pose. And Heather's back. Hello. Heather and I were just on a call together. Say hello to her. Thanks for being here. Bianca's here. I love it. In your corner. So if you have questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat, or you could join me live and we could have a face-to-face live conversation. So if you have LinkedIn questions, if you have best practices about, customizing a resume or answering interview questions or working with recruiters, that is my jam. So feel free to put in the comments that you would like to come up, and I would be happy to send you the link. Or I can go back to the question, would I rather hold a yoga pose for the rest of my life or sit at a desk in the yoga studio with people doing yoga? So I'll tell you what I chose. Jolie is here. Hello. So if I had to pick between spending the rest of my life at a desk inside a yoga room or holding a yoga pose for the rest of my life, which would I pick? So I picked holding a yoga pose. And the pose that I picked was Shavasana, which is the very last pose of a practice where you just lay on your back with your hands up in a completely relaxed and peaceful and Zen state. That would be my preference if I had to pick one or the other, staying in Shavasana. So it was 2 minutes and I could have made... I don't know what you're saying, Dan. I'm not going to read your comments because you're just trying to throw me off. So Jolie, Bianca, Heather, Jess, if you all want to come up on stage or have questions, send me a direct message or make a comment and I can send you the link to join me. And Dan is going to be over there making his comments, trying to throw me off kilter. And doing all the things. If I could, okay, Jess says, if I could switch yoga poses, I'd be fine. I don't know which you might choose. Yeah, so I would just be in Shavasana, which is basically like being asleep, or Supta Baddha Konasana, which is hand on your heart, hand on your belly, hand on your heart, and then your like legs in a butterfly, which is kind of like or a frog pose. So so here we are. Ask me anything. I can also talk about some of the themes that I'm seeing coming up with some of my clients. I made a post this week about interviewing folks that are social media or LinkedIn introverts. And I have had lots of people schedule with me. And it's really fascinating to see all the different views of LinkedIn, why they come to LinkedIn, what their primary purpose of being on LinkedIn is, and how they see it. So one of the questions I asked is, fill in the blank. LinkedIn is blank. So you all can do this in the comments too. LinkedIn is a place for learning. LinkedIn is a place for networking. People said, LinkedIn is becoming like Facebook. LinkedIn is just another job board. So it's interesting to get all these different perspectives on, how people view the platform and what they're looking to get out of it. And I'm really getting curious about ways to support people that are more on that introverted kind of socially visible standpoint, because I think it's intimidating where people come to the platform and they're like, oh my God, I have to be a content creator. I have to build a brand. I have to put all this, brilliant content out. And I don't believe that. I believe that you can be visible without, sharing a ton of content. I think if you feel inspired to take someone along a journey with you about your, sharing about your job search journey, or about how you're, in the midst of a career pivot, or how you're leveling up, that's in service of leveling up other people and maybe a little bit more comfortable for people to share. But I also think, just from a commenting standpoint, that's a completely sustainable strategy, right? So, all right, we all have yoga on the mind. Maybe I should just start getting up and do some yoga poses for you all. I am comfortable with a little bit of silence. Let's see. All right. So, smart pose, Shavasana. All right. So, Heather says, that means you have found an area of need. It's like I have had all kinds of like Shark Tank ideas. All right. Jolie has a question. And Jolie, you can join me on stage if you would like to. What should we focus on updating first, LinkedIn or resume? I'm having a hard time focusing on one or the other, and I don't have a ton to update since I was only a year from my last job search. Great question. Yes, I think I'm going to have to get to yoga this afternoon. So actually, okay. Strong opinions. I'm going to go with LinkedIn first, because I think that's where you can get, the fastest hits from coming up in search criteria. I'm working on this series about my relationship with the resume. So you all can hear it first, because I'm not a resume writer. I have incredible respect for people that are, trained resume writers that have skills in writing. My experience and my zone of genius is being able to ask the right questions to get the content out of someone that makes sense to put in the resume. Like, I'm just not a writer. Like, many of you know that I failed out of college in what year was that? 1996. And I think I had to take English 101 twice, hence why I am not a certified resume writer. However, as a recruiter for almost 20 years, I look at millions and millions of resumes. So I have the perspective of a recruiter mindset of being able to process and analyze a resume very effectively, right? And what makes sense, what's going to prompt me to take action. And that's where kind of my area of expertise is, but we'll come back to more of there might be a resume funeral in my future. So we'll stay tuned on that. But Jolie, I would update the LinkedIn first, because you've consistently been here. It's easier to warm up your network. You can reach back out to past people in your, that you've worked with. You can get recent recommendations. By being active, you'll get your profile shown to more people. So I would start with that. And then, the resume is a vehicle, a marketing document to get you more conversations. So, I see the job search journey as kind of like a 3-pronged approach. Filling out some applications, building your brand on LinkedIn, and networking. Those 3 things, having balance in all those 3 buckets, I feel like will yield accelerated results. LinkedIn to me is more of a marathon versus a sprint. But if you maintain consistency when you're employed, or when you're in a downturn, you're going to have an easier time kind of ramping back up when you need to call on your network. So I would say LinkedIn first, and don't overthink the resume. I mean, again, I've had my eyeballs on your resume and it tells the appropriate story. And I think, again, recruiters and hiring managers are not as critical about, a shorter stint situation because we are in post-pandemic recession, dealing with inflation, a myriad of things. And the majority of the nation, the world has had some life experiences that have affected their career in some way, shape, or form. So, I think your ROI would be better spent on LinkedIn first, and then have the resume to back it up, right? The additional marketing document to complement your resume, to keep conversations going, to tell a deeper story of the results, the impact, the things that you've learned through that process. So, all right. She said she's not camera ready. Well, and look at my crazy hair. All right. So again, small crew. Jess, Lara, and I are going to be having an event coming up, an audio only room, and it will be posted later this afternoon. That is called Ask a Recruiter. It's the third Thursday of the month, typically through the Dan Roth's group, the Collective, and we're going to have an audio room that is Ask a Recruiter. There's going to be myself, Jess, Lara, Leon Van Hook, and Anna Elise, and Scott Keenan, all different types of recruiters with different expertise. So I will be sharing more of that information from my profile soon. So I'll be sure to invite you all to that event. Good morning, Julie. Thanks for tuning in. Great to see you. This is the Ask Me Anything week. So if you have any burning desires, anything that's on your mind, feel free to either join me live on the stage, or we can triage questions in the comments. So let's see. I got my Slack messages going off here. All right. All right. Okay, so I dropped a hint about my feelings on the resume. I will be sharing more content on that soon. Because really, and again, I think about the time that I spend now, the majority of my time is spent as a recruiter looking at profiles. This is why I love optimizing profiles, because I am on the backside looking at talent from that recruiter perspective, and running those keywords searches and Boolean searches to find talent that fits the jobs that I'm recruiting for. So I'm always going to be obsessed with LinkedIn. I have to thank Judy Fox for that. All right, we have Alonzo in the house. He is here, but surviving the weather in Florida, and definitely sending lots of hope and good vibes to those in Florida that have been affected by Hurricane Ian. I lived in Tampa for many years, so I have definitely been checking in on family, friends in Tampa, family in Venice, Florida, and friends in Orlando. So scary times out there. Luckily, the couple years that I lived in Florida, we were hurricane free. So certainly grateful for that. So Dan says he will be there. He heard Leon Van Hook was going to be there, and I can't pass up giving him crap. Okay, well, I look forward to getting to know him, and always a good conversation, and audio rooms are a lot of fun. I think it encourages more people to come up on stage and have those public conversations, which levels up other people, because probably if you have that question, several other people have that question too. So it's a way for us to, get into those talent insights, the job seeker insights, what's going on in your head, what's going on in your heart, where you need support, where you're struggling with recruiters, and, having a diverse set of thought really enables us to support folks from a lot of different angles, which I think is really, really powerful. So keep an eye, make sure that you hit the bell on my profile. If you're not following the business page, Careerbff, please do that as well. And we'll be, sharing these Ask a Recruiter monthly meetings more consistently through the collective, which is a group that shares resources and is heavily focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Dan and Tegan Bartos head up that group. So super excited to be a part of that and continue to be of service where I can in that place. So we are about 25 after, heading the corner of 25 after. And unless anyone wants to join me on stage, I've got some recruiting that I need to get to. So I can take a couple minutes back in my day. Next week is Behind the Recruiter Curtain. Also, my best friend and my sponsor is in town from New York. And next Thursday is my little woman's 14th birthday. So I might cry a lot on that day. So say a little prayer for me as a mother of an only child. The fact that she's turning 14 is, it's awesome, but it's also like, how is she 13 or 14? That's crazy. All right, Julie's popping in with a question. Let me take a sip of water here. Okay. What can I do after a hiring manager and team from a long interview process that I didn't get an offer, but was told the team thought I did really well and was recommended for other internal jobs? I haven't been able to get the recruiter that gave me this feedback to let me know what are these positions. Yes, great point, Julie. Depending on the size of the organization, Dan is correct. They might not be able to give you that specific, like which positions. Dan said it also is a really good line recruiters use to get out of sticky situations. Okay. So you were through a long hiring process, didn't get the offer, but was told the team that I did really well and was recommended for other internal jobs. Haven't been able to get the recruiter that gave you this feedback to let you know of those positions. So Julie, if he is active on the platform, I would, show up to his or her post. And then I would definitely go to the company website. And based on your interview experience and the title that you interviewed for, like, see if you can draw some comparisons, like based on what you learned through the interview process, the structure of the team, the structure of the departments, where your skill set would be applicable, and then kind of manage up to the recruiter and go to them as a resource. One, when you reach back out, reference the position, the hiring manager, the time frame that you interviewed, and reframe, the feedback that you were given. And based on that, you saw these two positions with this rec number. Do you know if this would be the types of positions that the team was looking at? Then that way it makes it easier for them to be like, oh yeah, they said she'd be good for an inventory analyst or a operations specialist position. So if you get a little more specific in that kind of communication versus being like, hey, what was the position or other position titles that the team thought I might be good for, you're kind of like proactively being like, is this potentially what they thought? That's a way that might potentially get a response. The other thing is, if this is a target company and you built some relationships with people through the interview process, think about how else you can be visible to those people and how you could potentially network with them, whether it be on LinkedIn or sending, a follow-up email, stuff like that. So if you have more questions, I can, certainly try to help you triage that through direct message, or we can hop on a call. Dan, did you have any other thoughts? I mean, again, recruiters are working a lot of different positions. So, if someone's been dispositioned from a role and the role is filled, the recruiter's kind of like on to the next. So that's why I feel like if we communicated with the recruiter, reframed the situation, what was said, what you did well, and then ask like, hey, are these the positions potentially that the team might have been thinking about? I would be inclined to respond to a message like that. Just my career BFF 2 cents as a recruiter for, a really long time. I vacillate between, wanting to admit that I've been doing this for 20 years and then also like accepting that I've been doing this for 20 years. So it's actually been pretty cool to see the evolution of the recruitment process, and interested to see, what it's going to look like in another 10 years, although we shall see if I will still be working by then. So, all right, I am going to wrap up this party. Well, holy cow, I have 10 people here. I feel so special. Who else is here that hasn't said hi? We have Julie, Alonzo, Dean, Jess, Jolie, Heather, Elizabeth. Did I see Elizabeth come in? Okay, anyway, I am super grateful that you're all here. And I've got some new things happening on my plate through my engagement at Rocket Power. And it is a hilarious story that I can't wait to tell you all one day. But in the meantime, I'm also working on more things in my business. I am going to be sharing about, more recovery focused content in regards to working with folks that have been affected by addiction in some way, shape, or form, and kind of doing some more market research and potential workshops. I would definitely like to, share a behind the recruiter workshop for people as we move into fourth quarter. Maybe do that sometime in late October, early November. And so stay tuned with new events coming soon. And next week we'll be back. I might have my best friend to go live with me, although I don't think she gets in until late on Thursday. So no, I won't have my best friend to go live with me, but I will be here. We will have a behind the recruiter topic to talk about. Julie, this was a great question, kind of in service of, how to work with recruiters and follow up. And did you want to say hi? And Aurora wants to say hello. With that, everyone, I love you. I'm so glad you all show up here each week, and we'll be back for week 17 next week. And thanks for hanging out with me. Have a wonderful day.